Let's talk about China just quickly. This press club, have a look at this, James and Rita, and let's discuss whether Jim Molan is correct that the ambassador should be banned in future. Have a listen to this.
Ambassador, thank you. Your colleague, the Chinese ambassador to France, told French media recently that when China takes over Taiwan, it will re-educate its 23 million people. Can you confirm with a yes or no, is that Chinese government policy? Will China re-educate Taiwan's people to change their minds about the Chinese Communist Party?
My personal understanding is that once Taiwan is reunited, coming back to the motherland, there might be a process for the people in Taiwan to have a correct understanding of China.
Correct understanding. Well, is that the sort of, education campaign that the Uyghurs are currently experiencing in their concentration camps, where you get the correct understanding of the Chinese Communist Party or you spend your life in chains? I mean, really, this is... I like seeing that. I tell you why I like this character being given a platform, because it just shows you the ugly, ugly face of this regime, how unapologetic they are about what they're doing and what they plan to do. They've got long-term plans,
Yes.
not just for Taiwan, but for the world.
James?
Well, yeah, exactly right. I think that Ambassador Xiao did a huge favour for Australia. He stood up in a forum, the National Press Club, and he put himself out there for the press gallery to question him, and he did us a great favour, because now we can have no more illusions about what the nature of the current Chinese regime under Xi Jinping is all about. So we know not only, they're going to take Taiwan one way or the other, and he also used the words, use your imagination, when asked about that. We know that there's a re-education camp for 23 million Taiwanese coming in the future for them. But we also know that they are now an incredibly thin-skinned regime. They want Australia to do a whole bunch of things, such as have the media stop criticizing China, let companies like Huawei come in and build our 5G network, and all of these other things that they want to essentially destroy Australian sovereignty. They don't want to occupy Australia. They just want us to be a completely compliant state where no one is allowed to criticize China, and then we can all get along and be happy. So that's what he said.
That what's happening? Because I keep hearing Penny Wong talk about lowering the temperature, and I'm wondering whether we are going to emulate New Zealand's strategy here. Is basically do not offend the Chinese Communist Party. Do not say or do anything that they could antagonise them.
Well, it's interesting you say that about New Zealand, because New Zealand has actually finally now started to get a little bit tougher of a backbone on China. I suspect that's because Jacinda Ardern has got an election coming up, which she is going to lose, and lose handily, because finally everybody across the ditch has seen through that whole nicey-nice routine that's just, full of, lefty lunacy and incompetence. But, it is a little bit of a concern. I've been, more pleased with how the government has done with China than I was worried at the start. But I also have to say, I've got a lot of time and a lot of respect for Senator Jim Molan. I think he should have been made defense minister under the Morrison government. But I think it was wrong to say that we shouldn't let people from the CCP speak at the press club. We should, because we should hear exactly what they've got to say.
Jim Molan's got a great book out, and it's all about the threat that China poses, and he's absolutely right to draw attention to that. It's shocking stuff. But the reality is we need to hear. This is the whole point of free speech in a nation like ours. We want people to speak, because they always invariably end up exposing what they really think. And that character exposed, as Rita was saying, exactly the plans that China has for Taiwan. And scarily, Rita, that same journalist who did a terrific job also asked about the Uyghurs and about the concentration camps or the re-education camps, and the ambassador, you could see him going, oh, hang on, how do I answer this one? And he pretended that, I don't understand how you're comparing Taiwan to Xinjiang province. He played that game.
Yeah.
Again, incredibly revealing about the way that the Chinese operate. James, Cheng Li, 2 years since Cheng Li. Tell us about that.
Cheng Li is an Australian citizen. She's a journalist. She's grew up in Melbourne, grew up in Queensland, went to Indooroopilly High and University of Queensland, went back to China to work as a business journalist there. Anyway, 2 years ago yesterday, she was banged up on charges. We don't really know specifically what they were, but some sort of allegations about sharing state secrets overseas, whatever. Essentially, though, caught up in geopolitics, she's a hostage of the regime. Now, the ambassador, during her speech, essentially lied and said, you know, all her rights are being respected. She can have family visits, this, that, and the other thing. No, this is not true. We talked to her partner for the Daily Telegraph this week, who also shared with us drawings that her kids have done, wanting her to come home, talking about how much they miss their mother. So you see them there. Now, the thing is that the Chinese ambassador said, oh, no, visitation rights, all this sort of stuff exists. Well, no, she gets one 30-minute visit per month by an Australian consular official who goes to the head of the Ministry of State Security, sits in a room, and has a video conference with her. So she doesn't even get to see the person in the same room. It's all on camera. They claim COVID and a whole bunch of other things for this. But she's not the only one. There are other Australians who are being detained in China on all sorts of spurious charges. And again, this is something that we need to call out. The government needs to, people need to call out and demand that Australians are allowed to come back home.
Absolutely, Rita.
We had Kylie Moore-Gilbert being a prisoner in Iran.
Yep.
We had a massive campaign, and I just cannot believe we've got so many Australians who, well, before COVID, were travelling to China. I was amongst them. I've been to China a couple of times. I can tell you right now, I will never go to that country again because it is, one, not safe, particularly if you're in the media, but even if you're not, if you're a business person, if they arrest you, you have no rights. And then they've got a conviction rate of something over 99%. So once they decide you're guilty of something, whether you're guilty or not, that's it. So no more China, and sadly, no more Hong Kong.
No more Hong Kong.
Exactly.